Now we all know that Outlast is hands down one of the most scariest games of all time in video game history, period. Like Outlast, like every time I play that game, you know, obviously like I'm obviously good at the game now, but you know, I still get the chills playing that game, alright? And now we gotta do documenting how scary dude by the name of Mullet Man Comics explaining why Outlast is the most scariest game. But it's not gonna be about the game Outlast, it's gonna be about a certain character, Eddie Gluskin. Yeah, I'm scared of that dude. But before I get into the video, please make sure to terminate that like button and also subscribe to join the EJ Nation, because we are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. See, get your popcorn, because this video is 26 minutes already, so it's gonna be a pretty long one. So get ready, get prepared, get your snacks ready, get ready. Alright, let's get into it.
When I was a boy, my mother often said to me,
I remember this part.
"Get married, son, and see how happy you will be." I have looked all over, but no girlie can I find.
This part, I did not like this part at all. My goodness.
I will have
this dude was playing head basketball.
Look around
and you missed.
until
oh, not the cross on fire. Come on.
I have found.
Yo, Eddie Gluskin.
I can't believe I'm about to say this.
Yo.
I love horror games. Horror games for me is all
about
the
me
thrill
too.
of facing the unknown, combined with the adrenaline rush of trying to survive against the worst of odds. A lot of the times I only ever really feel fulfilled playing a game when it's generally in the horror genre. Simply because I love games that can test your mettle. I love horror games where I gotta look for my wife in some nightmarish wasteland. I love horror games where I gotta make decisions that could or could not lead to my own downfall. And most of all, I love horror games where I'm a little bitch that can't fight back, so I gotta scurry around like a little rat, hiding in lockers or barrels until
Jack Baker,
These
bro.
could be games like the first half of Resident Evil 7, or Amnesia, or a game that gave me an irrational fear of doors along with the dark called Outlast. If you don't know anything about Outlast, this video might not make any sense, but I'll try to get it past you lickety-split so you can follow. So basically the consensus of the story is that you're an investigative reporter by the name of Miles Upshur. You're on the prowl for a new story, and you receive a mysterious email from a whistleblower by the name of Waylon Park, exposing a place called Mount Massive Asylum for their heinous experiments on the patients housed within said asylum. So you, Miles Upshur, take it upon yourself to pull up to their doorstep to find that the asylum has been shaked and very well baked. Now, because you willfully trapped yourself inside the asylum to investigate the horrors, you gotta run, jump, and hide from the deranged inmates that have seized control.
Them chase scenes?
And somehow figure out a way to get the fuck out of the joint. For the last decade, I return to this game every year for an annual replay, and it gets better every time. It's in the documents that flesh out the story and lore of the Murkoff Corporation.
Like literally me, off camera, I like to play Outlast a lot. I literally replay the games a lot. Like, I could replay this game so many times and still not get bored. Like, that's how good this game was.
Terror hearing Chris Walker's chains and thumping boots moving
Chris
toward
Walker. Freak him. Why is he not running, bro?
It's either that or it's Traeger's snipping of his comically large scissors while hunting.
Oh, the freaking doctor. I hated the doctor. Oh, snap.
Playing this game, you're sunk into the darkest pits of humanity and are somehow taken even further below that. Investigating the asylum, Miles finds himself faced against one Chris Walker, who relentlessly chases you throughout the game. He's a hulking figure that resembles more of the Great White Shark than an actual human being. And at face value, he's just a secondary antagonist that serves to add danger and tension in your pursuit to escape. But when reading files scattered throughout the asylum, and even the Outlast comic itself, you learn that Walker was much more than a hulking killing machine. You learn that he was a Murkoff security guard with almost inhuman-like strength, along with the mind of a child. It was during his time—
Wait, I didn't know he was a security guard. Okay.
As said security guard that his coworkers dubbed Walker Strong Fat, which Walker despised so much so that it one day led to his psyche breaking, killing 3 inmates by tearing them apart and mangling his own face to no longer be or look like Chris Walker. In my first draft of my script, in a flash of creativity, I was gonna do a whole joke about how he's just a sweet and lovable guy that may look like a monster on the outside, yet has a sweet gooey center underneath.
Don't be fooled by that, alright? If you have any type of intention that Chris Walker is a nice, sweet guy, you have another thing coming. You want to give him a big old hug, you know what I'm saying? Chris Walker, come here. No, come here, Chris Walker, come here. You want to give him a nice little hug, you know what I'm saying? This is literally what Chris Walker's gonna do. You want to give me a hug, huh? You want to give me a hug? Yeah. Come here. Yeah. this dude is gonna rip off your head, literally, dude.
Now, there's also Richard Traeger, a not-so-lovable guy that, while under the employ of the Murkoff Corporation, decided to use his position to lure women out on dates, spike their drinks, and have his way with them. Now, to keep a long story short, Traeger was exposed for his actions, thus Traeger became royally pissed, claiming that the women that exposed him were lying bitches, as he then proceeded to stab one of the women several times. That was until he was later tackled into a paper shredder which caught onto his hair, mangling his head, after which Traeger was taken in as an inmate into the asylum.
So that's why he got that bald spot, cause his hair got ripped off. Okay, I still be laughing at that, my bad.
Used as a test subject for the Morphogenic engine, where in present day, Traeger was one of the inmates to break free, and before long, had set up his own personal torture chamber in the upper floors of the asylum's ward, going on to capture, mutilate, and torture countless former inmates, employees, and Miles. Initially, I was going to make the video centered around Traeger because I felt that just his presence alone was enough to convey what I felt to be the most vile villain in gaming. I really wanted to talk about Traeger extensively.
Bro, look at him chasing, bro!
How he is heavily psychotic and manipulative, and how really the only thing that makes him insane is his deep desire to hurt and kill people, making him a sadist and a murderer. His section is viscerally horrifying. You literally see firsthand what can happen if Traeger catches you, and it's a fate far worse than death. But Traeger being the villain to go over...
See, one thing about Traeger, like, he's gonna make you feel it, bro. Because for Chris Walker, he's basically gonna, like, just rip off your head, you know, like, instant death, right? Instant death. You're automatically gonna die for him. But for Traeger, he's gonna make you go through it. He's gonna torture you first slowly, nice and slowly, and then it's gonna kill you, bro. It's kind of the same thing for Eddie Gluskin. But for Eddie Gluskin, it's, like, more brutal.
Just isn't the case anymore. Because there's a villain in this game that I found to be worse, if not more vile and vulgar than Traeger.
Gluskin.
And his name is Eddie Gluskin.
I knew it. I hate you. I hate you. His smile was so menacing, bro. I don't know how I beat that game multiple times.
So who is Eddie Gluskin? All that is really known about Eddie Gluskin's early life is that he was sexually abused by his father and uncle, who would take photos of the incident. Suffering from something horrific like that, Eddie as a child had no idea that he was wrong. Eddie thought it was normal that his family did those things to him. He thought that it was normal to be pulled apart from the inside out. He thought it was normal that the people that were his family, his protectors, would violate him time and again. In a document, Eddie exclaimed that while his father and uncle would document the obscenities, his mother, knowing what had been going on, watched on the sidelines, refusing to do anything to save her son. Having no idea how to comprehend the madness that Eddie was living day in and day out, just knowing that with each time his father or uncle had their way, Eddie would end up cataclysmically hurt after the fact, in which Eddie developed a coping mechanism to bury all the craziness deep down that he was suffering from, referring to his childhood as the typical Leave It to Beaver kind of home. Thankfully, Eddie's father and uncle were eventually incarcerated. However, it was far too late to save Eddie. Eddie, by that point, had already been chewed up and spat back out. He had internalized all the violations, the abuse, and trauma the best way he thought he could, by becoming a serial killer. No matter how much Eddie seemed to escape his past, it always came back, like a raw nerve, feeling that sadness, that embarrassment, that violation, over and over again. His insanity stemmed from the sexual abuse he endured as a child, becoming a misogynistic serial killer, in turn mutilating women. Eddie targeting these women is most likely attributed to the fact that his mother sat back and did nothing to stop his father or uncle from having their way with him, and before being incarcerated at Mount Massive Asylum had killed 3 women in the process. While in the asylum's care, if you could even call it that, Eddie was given a psychiatric evaluation, finding that Eddie had a deceptively kind personality. He is, by and large, very charming, though upon rejected, he can become violent, as seen when you manage to outmaneuver him.
Bro, did you just hear what he just said? He just said that if a woman was to, you know, deny Eddie Gluskin, you know what I'm saying, Eddie Gluskin trying to ask a girl out and she says no, you're basically his next victim.
Throughout the game, insulting you for choosing to rather die than be with him.
Oh, I remember that part. Yo. Ooh, that gotta hurt. I know that hurt. You'd rather die than be with me. That's what he said. What would y'all do? Would you rather be with Eddie Gluskin or die?
Rather die than be with me.
I remember this part so vividly. Dang.
As he is obsessed with the idea of his perfect bride, to the point where he mutilates people he deems mentally acceptable to make them physically acceptable as well. He appears to be only interested in taking men and removing or adding parts to create a woman.
That's so disgusting. That's so
and
disgusting.
excess body hair, as well as
What?
stuffing the body to create. His charming personality often slips when he is rejected, and he teeters dangerously between complimenting his bride's appearance and personality and insulting them. He also completely refuses to accept the difference between what he believes and the actual reality. He also completely refuses to admit that he killed his victims, refusing to admit that they were dead or mutilated. That's Eddie Gluskin.
Bro.
He's nothing short of deranged, and I bet you can see now
Bro.
why I decided to
Why is he so
center the video
close?
around him instead. Now, while you could make the argument that he is a victim of his family's actions, I do not believe that entitles him to become a serial killer
snap.
and mutilate people the way he does. Not by a long
Oh,
shot.
man.
But it's in that same degree where I can't help but feel bad for his tragic upbringing. No child should have to go through something as appalling as that ever. And I'll also add that when forced to take part in Murkoff's experiments, he began to have warped perceptions and delusions of marriage, women, and wanting children. So when the asylum riot began, there were no women in the asylum. So in his delusional state, he captured other variants and brutally attempted to perform sex changes on them. The victims
No.
would die before the process was completed, either during the surgery or killed by
See, this is what I'm talking about. Eddie Gluskin and Trigger, like, they're gonna torture you slowly, and then they're gonna, end your life. You know what I'm saying?
Eddie while he was driven further into his delusions. But due to most, if not all, of these procedures turning out unsuccessful, Eddie would either string his victims up in the gymnasium or decorate the vocational block with their mutilated corpses in extremely grotesque fashions. But since I've gone through Eddie Gluskin extensively in this little section, I'm now going to take you through the events of the game.
Yes, sir.
Starting off, you are Waylon Park, a software engineer working at Mount Massive Asylum for the Murkoff Corporation. After several encounters working directly with the morphogenic engine and witnessing the torture that the Murkoff Corporation inflicts on its inmates, Waylon decides to blow the lid on the corporation and its horrific experiments. Upon sending the email to investigative reporter Miles Upshur, who you play as in the main game, you're called in to prepare the morphogenic engine for an inmate by the name of Eddie Gluskin. Making the preparations for the software, you come face to face with Eddie for the first time.
See, I knew it. I had a feeling that was Eddie Gluskin. Look at that, him. He looked just like Eddie Gluskin. Just like a more cleaner version, obviously. This was before all the craziness and madness, obviously. So maybe that's why he was trying to go after us, because we didn't do nothing about it.
To be dragged kicking and screaming into the machine against his will anyway. Now, upon the machine's activation, you see firsthand the brutality dealt out to the inmates, as Eddie's face begins to become disfigured. This is
so painful.
Through a document that the disfigurement was caused after the tubing was switched from a certain material to latex to elicit an allergic reaction. This not only suggests that Gluskin is allergic to latex, but furthermore shows that Murkoff would be willing to go through the trouble of reinstalling tubing that patients show a negative reaction to, just to get even the most minuscule reaction of discomfort from the variants. Truly abhorrent. Also, in the main game's final chapter in the underground lab, the sphere Gluskin was forced into during the intro appears damaged, with Gluskin being very much alive after the Walriders' outbreak. This could mean
he broke out
by himself, possibly stopping his therapy mid-session. This could further explain his less than lucid and confused mental state at the time Waylon encounters him.
He broke out for sure.
It's very out there and up to speculation. Shortly after finishing up and returning to Waylon's laptop, he is caught by his employer, Jeremy Blair. He's a fucking asshole. That's really all you need to know about him. And as punishment, Blair has Park committed and forced to endure the tests of the morphogenic engine. So a couple licks at the head here.
Bro, I did not like that part. That's so unsanitary, bro. Look at another dude's face.
And a few horrific hallucinations later, the Walrider breaks free and begins causing chaos at Mount Massive, where
you're done.
manages to break out of
You're done.
restraints and takes a camcorder with him. I feel like before we go on, I should mention who the Walrider is, because this is basically the Walrider is the source of the madness that seems to infect most of the asylum's inhabitants. While appearing ghostly in nature, the Walrider is actually a swarm of nanites, controlled by an inmate called William Billy Hope, who simply learned how to control the swarm. He's also known as the first patient to fully manifest the Walrider. The exact nature of the swarm is unknown, but it is implied that the Walrider is created by the host in their own body, through psychosomatic direction. That's the purpose of the morphogenic engine, turning the cells in the body into nanofactories. I hope a bit of that makes sense, but if not, we're gonna keep going anyway.
Let's keep going.
You as Waylon have to sneak through the asylum, making sure not to get swarmed by inmates running amok through the joint. Roaming through the facility, you witness surviving guards and personnel try to escape from the newly freed prisoners, some brutally murdered, or some hiding in rooms quaking with fear of being found, while Waylon attempts to find a radio that he can use to contact contact the authorities. During
Yes,
this
sir.
time, Waylon consistently eludes a bearded, cannibalistic prisoner named Frank Monero.
Bro, this dude right here, he was so sick. I don't know why the game developers made him that sick, bro. Cannibalism? Oh! Were they trying to make their game that, bro?
Who wields a saw blade and tries to kill Waylon in many different ways. Little is known about Monero, other than a document that exclaims he was lethargic and largely non-responsive. He also refused baths and other attentions from the barber apart from anesthesia, stating, "If I cannot partake, I cannot share." His patient doctors also mentioned that forced nutrition would be recommended for Monero if they could not find something that he likes to eat.
Bro.
He wouldn't eat because, well, he craved people. His patient report also mentions that he had a history of smoking tobacco and marijuana. So perhaps he was a chill guy before whatever turned him towards cannibalism, since the creators said that he was something of a yoga instructor and amateur cook on the side. But who knows?
He's going crazy.
Monero attempts to kill Waylon in various different ways, including trapping him in a furnace. However, Waylon ultimately escapes Monero's clutches, angrily adding that Waylon was supposed to be his, after which Monero is never seen again. Traversing the asylum's ins and outs, Waylon manages to find a radio. However, Blair, that fucking asshole, appears and destroys it, insisting that no one can reveal the secret of Mount Massive, where he then leaves Waylon to die at the hands of Chris Walker, only for Waylon to escape. Waylon eventually wanders into a secluded area of the vocational block, where a variant by the name of Dennis with dissociative identity disorder captures and offers inmates as a sacrifice to Eddie Gluskin, whom he calls the Groom. Evading Dennis, we're given a clue as to how haunting Eddie is if captured, when a random inmate grabs Waylon to warn him about the Groom.
If they catch us, they'll give us to him very bad. Very, very bad. God. Oh, God.
I don't know about that one, Chief, but hey, he was warning us.
Afterward, walking down to the 3rd floor, our eyes lay upon one of Eddie's vile scenes, displaying his ultimate fantasy.
He might blur this out, who knows? He about to blur this for sure. Yeah. She blurred it. This is not me, guys.
Terrified, tries to navigate through the corridors, leading him to attempt to open a locked door, only to be greeted with Eddie, who presses his face against the glass of the door.
Yep, here we go.
And calling Waylon.
Man, how you doing?
Eddie, Waylon falls into an elevator shaft and gets a piece of debris lodged in his right shin, reducing him to a limp.
Ouch. That hurts. You know that hurt, Chief.
Would you do something like that to yourself?
You're sick. Find a life. Oh wait, you don't have one. My bad.
Then be with me.
Yes.
Waylon is eventually captured after being lured into a corner with nowhere left to run except to hide in a nearby locker. Eddie traps Waylon inside, where Waylon is then dragged towards Eddie's workshop, where Eddie mutilates others. It's here where you get a taste of his lunacy and also hear some interesting things come out of his mouth.
This is where the crazy begins. This is where it begins, y'all.
I've been a little vulgar. And I want to say I'm sorry. You know how a man gets when he wants to know.
Get this man some therapy, please.
I've made an honest woman of you. I promise. I'll be a different man.
Bro. I played this game multiple times and I still feel some type of way, bro. I'm not even gonna lie.
I want a family. A legacy.
Not with me? Man.
To be the father I never had.
Bro.
I'll never let anything happen to
do that with the woman, not with the guy, alright? And do it respectfully too. Do it kindly. You don't gotta do it the way you always be doing it. Let me stop, bro. I'm talking to a video game character right now. I look stupid.
I have to wait here. I know you must be just as eager as I am to consummate our love.
What love? Bro, what? Look at the bodies hanging, bro. Goodness. Oh, that's that guy. Oh. Yup. That's that knockout gas. Knockout. Oh, look at it. Bro, them sound effects. If you got headphones,
where Waylon wakes up 12 hours later and sees Gluskin mutilate other captive inmates through the slits of the locker's door. It's a long and grotesque watch that makes my skin crawl no matter how many times I play. Witnessing this horror, I can't help but imagine what someone in that position must feel like. But shortly after this, Eddie strips Waylon of all of his clothes and places him on a table, preparing to cut him with a buzzsaw, with Waylon's body placed so that his genitals are aimed towards the blade. Oh man, this video is getting demonetized. However, just before the spinning buzzsaw reaches Waylon's body, a variant comes in and engages in a fight with Eddie. It isn't ever made clear on who the random prisoner is, but my theory is that it's that one guy who warned us about Eddie right before entering his section of the game.
Hey, that's a good theory. That's a good theory, bro.
And whether this prisoner managed to escape from Eddie is also unknown, but it's more than likely that he died. So in the wake of that prisoner's self-sacrifice, Waylon uses this distraction as an opportunity to escape through a broken window, breaking his own leg in the process.
How did he dodge that punch? How?
Fine. Go. You and the rest of these ungrateful sluts.
Oh my. You have a bad mouth, huh?
Once Waylon escapes, he is forced to go back into the block and find the key that unlocks the door to male ward. So
he right behind you.
His pursuit
he right behind you. Oh, he going really too. Okay.
Trying to obtain the key to his own freedom, attempting to hang him on a pulley system, along with many previously deceased and mutilated hanging victims. In one of his notes, Waylon compares Gluskin's actions to that of Bluebeard. Bodies hanging like wet laundry, like skinned rabbits. Men mutilated, hunted, and murdered. The shortest distance between any 2 points separates violence and ruined lust. Whatever story he's telling himself, he's not making women to bear his children. He's making women to kill them. This man thinks he's in love.
Like, what's the point?
The therapy made him better.
What was the point of that?
Everything reeks of death and fear. Piss and coppery blood. Meat decomposing to game. It's an eerie sight to behold. So Eddie, in the process of hanging Waylon struggles for his life as he is lifted, with his weight causing some of the ceiling and the pulley system to break away, which forces Eddie to use more strength to lift and hang. Eventually, Waylon's weight becomes too great of a burden for Eddie to lift, so this causes a sudden weight shift in the pulley.
Yeah. Eddie wasn't lifting. Maybe if Eddie was in the weight room, this wouldn't be too much of a problem, huh? Yeah. Oh. Man. You know he died too. See, this part doesn't make no sense though, because he just said that we were too heavy for him, right? So if you were too heavy for him, then explain this death cussing right here. So he was literally able to pick us up with one arm, but he can't. I'm done. I'm not going. Bye bye, sir. He is finished. And that was pretty much the end of the game too, by the way. He was like the last main guy to go through. You know what I'm saying? Once you get past him, it was over.
Eddie Gluskin is no more, but the work he left behind will never be forgotten. I find what Waylon writes in a document directly after this moment to be most compelling. He's dead. The amateur surgeon, father-to-be husband, he's got shredded and pulled from his belly. I'm trying not to laugh. God.
Whoa, why does he read like that?
He said, I swear to you, I'm trying. As daylight finally breaks,
why did he read like that?
Throughout the asylum, discovering that Murkoff's paramilitary forces have already arrived at the scene and are killing every prisoner they see. Waylon manages to elude them as they're all killed by the Walrider and makes it to the main atrium. There he finds a wounded Blair, lying against the front door and pleading for help.
He's a backstabber.
As Park approaches, Blair stabs him in the stomach with a knife, declaring that no one can know the truth before he can deliver the finishing blow.
I mean, as we all just saw, he just stabbed us from the front. So instead of him being a backstabber, he's a front stabber.
He is attacked and killed by the Walrider.
Unfortunately. Oh, yeah. I remember this part for sure. His limbs and everything. Everywhere. But he does have his blood all over him, though. Which kind of sucks. Bro, if this was me, I'm sorry for pausing again, bro. But if this, bro, the shower I'm about to take I'm taking the meanest shower of all time, bro. If you go through that, I'm sorry, bro. That's just a fact. There's no way I'm not about to shower after all of that. All that cardio and running he was doing, bro. You know he reeks, though. I ain't even gonna lie. You know he reeks.
With that stroke of luck, Waylon staggers out the open front door and past the military vehicles towards a red Jeep waiting by the security gate. As Waylon enters the Jeep and starts it up, he notices a dark figure. Miles Upsher's Walrider sustained broken body, slowly exiting the asylum with a dark mist surrounding it.
Wait, that was Miles, bro. That was Miles. I always wondered who that was. Like, always trying to be so mysterious, but apparently that was Miles. He just said it. Dang, so now we know. Wow. Wow. Reverse that thing. Let's get it. Hey. I already beat the game. I already know what happens. But
it's in the epilogue scene that a fully recovered Waylon has gotten in contact with a leaking organization to submit his secret information on Murkoff, along with all the recording he managed to take on the camcorder. Waylon sits against a laptop with the video file of all his recorded video from the asylum, ready to be uploaded to the internet, with the man associated with the leaking website standing in front of his desk.
Like, imagine this, bro. Like, imagine you being in their shoes. Like, imagine like you having the power. Like, all the power is literally in your camera. You got all the footage of Chris Walker, you know, chasing you around, Eddie Gluskin, you know what I'm saying, making guys into, you know, women. And then freaking Traeger being the doctor that he is, you know, he's not even like a real doctor. He's just a freaking lunatic, dude. You have all of that on your camera to show the world. What are you gonna do?
Informing him that it will be more than enough evidence to ruin the Murkoff Corporation, but warns Waylon that doing so will result in Murkoff doing everything it can to punish him in return. Despite some initial hesitation, Waylon ultimately decides to take the risk and uploads the video.
Yeah, yes sir. This is for our good. Ooh, he did it. Wow. There's like no other option though. If you like, you know, wanted to like not do it, but man. Outlast was such a good game, bro. It's going down in history, bro. It's one of the best horror games for sure, bro. At least in my book. I don't know about y'all, but Outlast is for sure up there.
About the inspiration behind Eddie's design, series designer Philippe Morin stated that Eddie was not inspired by any specific character, but rather retroactively designed to fit into pre-existing in-game sequences that centered around the protagonist's torture. Said sequences were inspired by similar torture scenes from Wes Craven's 1988 film, The Serpent and the Rainbow. From taking a look at the film for this video, I can definitely see for myself some of the inspiration and suggest everyone to give it a watch as well. Something slightly funny I also wanted to add was when answering a fan-submitted question in regards to which two variants in Mount Massive are most likely to be best friends, series writer JT Petty commented that the likeliest duo would be Frank Minera and Eddie Gluskin. I didn't know how or where to add these little factoids, but there you have it. I hope I managed to convey to you why I view Eddie Gluskin as one of the most vile villains in gaming ever. I feel as though he takes that spot for me since no other villain in gaming has really ever managed to make me feel so viscerally appalled than Eddie. I think that while his backstory is rather tragic, the monster he later builds himself up to be is utterly vile. It's not only in the act and killing and the way he goes about it, but how he has no regard for human life whatsoever. Eddie is so lost in his own insanity that he doesn't even think he's killing these people. He doesn't view what he's doing as wrong in any capacity. In his warped view of the world, he thinks he can create his perfect bride, his perfect woman, and his own twisted children at the cost of others. I mean, for God's sake, he manages to fill an entire gymnasium ceiling with his victims, for crying out loud.
That's insane. That's sick.
Inmates you have to evade refer to Eddie as that evil thing, like the boogeyman. Walking into a section of the game, it feels hopeless, and when you come face to face with him, it's like the stuff of nightmares. I genuinely can't express enough how terrifying his section is in the game. You just have to play it for yourself. But I think what shakes me to my core about Eddie the most is that there is someone in this world that is like this, most likely. Someone who is willing to tear someone apart.
Don't say that, bro. Because, I mean, although that might be true, there actually might be somebody that's actually like Eddie Gluskin in real life, roaming somewhere on the earth. All right, I just say that we should just pray every day, you know, like, no, like honestly, like actually, I think we should just pray every day, all right, that we don't, you know, come across anybody that acts like Eddie Gluskin or any like horror character in video games, you know what I'm saying?
Contort them, break them, and mangle them.
Goodness.
Until they are unrecognizable. And once that monster is finished with them, it never stops. It's on to the hunt again for another and another and another and another.
He never stops. He never stops.
That thought terrifies me because there are many monsters in this world.
Yeah.
All I can say to end this video is be careful, because you
Dang.
never know who or what is around the corner.
Bro, is the narrator
waiting
good?
for you.
Waiting for me? Oh no! What he end? Nah, that's nah. Yeah. Overall, though, this was such an informative video about Outlast. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know what the game Outlast is, I'm pretty sure now that you just got done watching this video, you have a good idea of what the game Outlast really is. You know what I'm saying? And you know, in the past, I've seen some people talk about, you know,
Oh, Outlast is not that scary of a game.
that's because you watch them play the game. All right, you're not in the gamer's experience. All right, you gotta play the game yourself. Yo, bro, I be seeing some people, they be like, oh, it's not scary. It's because you're not playing the game. You gotta play. I'm telling you, once you're playing it, bro, you're gonna understand them chase scenes, but sweat. All right, let me calm down. All right, guys, that's gonna be the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, please make sure to terminate that like button and also subscribe to join the EJ Nation. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible, and I'll see you guys in the next video.